So as we sit here at the end of March, we're about a month away from the 2024 NFL Draft. So coming up on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now, a look at who some of the experts have Howie Roseman and the Birds taking at number 22 in the upcoming NFL Draft, including some draft experts projecting the Eagles to make some trades in the first round to get a player of their liking. Before we dive into all of that, who's excited for draft time? I love free agency, love the regular season, love the playoffs, of course. I really like the draft too, though, because you get to get a look at what these players can do, how they fit on the roster, and you project what types of talents they're going to be in the National Football League. So if you're with me, make sure you hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. As I mentioned, taking a look at a couple of mock drafts here on the show for this roundup. One of the most notable draft experts, maybe the most notable, even though he's been in the game for a long time, Mel Kiper Jr. of ESPN. He has the Eagles taking Clemson cornerback Nate Wiggins at number 22. Here's what Kiper had to say in his write-up. This has been an offseason of change for the Eagles, who have new coordinators on both sides of the ball and have seen two stalwarts retire in center Jason Kelce and defensive tackle Fletcher Cox. And after a rough end to their season, Coach Nick Sirianni finds himself with a few holes on his roster. I almost slotted in a wide receiver to add to Jalen Hurts' fantastic set of skill position talent. How about Xavier Worthy? Wait, I said that in my NFL draft last week and people ripped me. But Kiper agrees with me because me and him know ball. But I see defense as the bigger problem, he continued. Philadelphia, ranked 30th in both points allowed per game, 25.2, and QBR allowed, 55.7. And it was 31st in passing yards allowed to receivers with 3,125 total. Veteran starting corners, Darius Slay, James Bradbury, each on the wrong side of 30. Lastly, Wiggins could step in and play a huge role for a team with Super Bowl aspirations. At 6'1", $173, he's slender, but he has elite speed, ran a blazing 4.28 second 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. And with what Kiper said there, Wiggins gives you a lot of speed with that elite 40 time. Coverage skills are there. Good feet, smooth mover. He can flip his hips, and obviously you need to be able to do that to stick with some of these really good wide receivers, especially at the cornerback position where wide receivers are running routes. That causes you to have to flip the hips a little bit if you have to turn around to chase after a wideout or address the football. All of that important, obviously. Does have a very thin frame, and because of that, he struggles against the run, but it's not for a lack of effort. It's because of a lack of size, but we've seen corners be able to be successful at the NFL level who are slender like Nate Wiggins. As for Daniel Jeremiah, also has the Eagles taking the cornerback out of Clemson here. And I love the ball skills for Wiggins. I love the dog mentality and the toughness that he has. When he gets beat, the body language doesn't suffer. He's going to come back and try to make a good play on the very next play. You're going to need that thick skin in Philadelphia. Here's what Daniel Jeremiah had to say about Nate Wiggins. The Eagles' pass defense, atrocious last year. Wiggins is the most natural cover man in this year's draft. Let's take a look at the coverage numbers. Are you calling cap on Daniel Jeremiah? You can't, because these grades pretty damn good. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 82.5, a coverage grade of 83.9. Wiggins allowed a completion rate last year playing in the ACC of 43.9%. Passer rating when targeted, only 44.4. Man coverage grade, 78.5, and a zone coverage grade of 74. So Nate Wiggins could play man. He could play in zone. Familiar with doing that with what he did at Clemson last year. He tallied 7 pass breakups and 2 interceptions as well. What say you? Who do you want the Eagles to draft at number 22 in the upcoming NFL Draft? Again, as I like to say, kind of a cool factoid here. The Birds have not drafted a cornerback in the first round of the draft since Lito Shepherd in the early 2000s. More mock drafts to get to, more prospects to talk about. But first, today's Eagles Now is sponsored by Game Time. It's the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. And you can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Isn't that awesome? I don't want to waste my time on these apps. I want to get the damn tickets and go to the ball game. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy shows, theater, music, and more. With zone deals, you pick the section. Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Dane Brugler, very good draft analyst from The Athletic. We put up a YouTube short with him from the NFL Scouting Combine. Had an opportunity to spend a few moments with him. Good guy, really knows football. His draft guide is probably the best as far as just finding out statistics, trends, details on some of these prospects here. He has the Eagles trading up in a move with Doug Peterson and the Jacksonville Jaguars, where the Birds receive the 17th overall pick, and then they send 22 and 97 to Jacksonville, as well as a 2025 fourth-round pick. So the Eagles here move up 5 slots, and Dane Brugler also has the Eagles taking a cornerback here, and I don't think there's any question. Cornerback is the biggest need on this Eagles team. It's not Nate Wiggins, though. It's Terrion Arnold at number 22. And outside of Quinion Mitchell, who I think is the best corner in this draft, I'm having a tough time deciphering and figuring out who my second favorite corner is in this draft. Is it Wiggins? Is it Arnold? I like Kool-Aid McKinstry a lot. Cooper DeJean, is he a corner? Is he a safety? It's certainly an interesting position to scout in the lead up to this draft. Brugler on Terrion Arnold here. Another perfect match in terms of need and fit. Eagles move up here to nab Arnold. Head coach Nick Sirianni talks about his players competing with a dog mentality. Might be the number one trait that sticks out in Arnold's game. He dominated during DB drills at the Combine. He did. He looked awesome. Had that terrific interview with Stacey Dales as well on the NFL Network. Caused a lot of people to cry. Last year, very good season. Pro Football Focus overall grade of 88.4. A coverage grade of 84.9. The completion rate that he gave up at Alabama, higher than Nate Wiggins, but at a better level of competition as compared to Nate Wiggins. Only gave up a completion rate, though, of 51.9%, passer rating of 50.7. Man coverage grade, definitely lower than Wiggins here, 61.2. Zone coverage, though, because he has those good instincts to make a beat on the football, 81.9. 14 pass breakups and 5 interceptions for Terrion Arnold here for Alabama this past year in 2023. Trevor Sikkema, friend of the show, Pro Football Focus. We talked about this lightly with him last week. Go and check that video out. I thought it was very informative. Me and him having a really good conversation about what the Eagles have done this offseason. Has the Birds taking Oregon State offensive tackle Taliese Fuaga. And this guy's nasty. He's a dog. What the Eagles would do here is trade up with the Denver Broncos, and they trade up pretty significantly here. All the way up to number 12 overall. Eagles also netting a third-round pick in next year's draft. And the Broncos are trying to compile some draft capital here that they gave up for Russell Wilson. Number 22 they get back from Philadelphia, and 53. At 22 and 53, you can get 2 high-quality players in the first 53 picks. Here's what Sikkema said. Look, you can't tell me Howie Roseman doing something like this is too crazy to predict. With no second-round pick, the Broncos could aim to move back from number 12 if they can't trade up for a quarterback. Eagles have an extra second-round pick, which could make this a deal in doing so. Philadelphia, which has always looked ahead when it comes to building in the trenches, could draft a player like Fuaga, who could start at right guard early on and then go kick out to right tackle when Lane Johnson retires. I would not be surprised if Howie Roseman does indeed go offensive line with this pick or in the first round. And this is part of the thought process that I've talked about here on the show, is that you can get a tackle who can play guard, and then they take over for Lane Johnson once he decides to retire in a year, 2, 3 years. I mean, you're going to have this rookie under team control if you exercise that fifth-year option for the next 5 years. Fuaga tested really well at the combine, moves really well, pancakes cats, can play zone scheme. He did that at Oregon State. When I was talking to him, he said, I basically played in every type of offensive system. Pro Football Focus overall grade of 88.2, pass blocking 80, run blocking 90.9. So he can really get out in space on that second and third level and make some blocks there, running very, very well. No sacks given up, 2 hits, and 10 hurries. We stick with the offensive line with Joel Klatt, who I think rivals Kirk Herbstreit as the best color guy in college football. I think they're both terrific. I think Joel Klatt, though, is absolutely awesome. And if I were to listen to a podcast between Klatt and Herbstreit, I'd rather go Klatt over Herbie. I think he's very good conversationalist. He has the Eagles taking Oregon center Jackson Powers Johnson. This kid is a player, man. And this could be your long-term Jason Kelce replacement if Cam Jurgens is not. By the way, Nick Sirianni saying on Tuesday morning that Cam Jurgens isn't definitively going to be the starter. He didn't name the starter yet. So do they have plans for a guy like Jackson Powers Johnson? He could be available at 22. In fact, I think he is going to be available at number 22. If the Eagles go best player available and Powers Johnson is on their list, I don't think Howie Roseman's going to be able to help himself. I think this guy is a bona fide, decade-long stud in the NFL. Here's what Klatt had to say. The Eagles have to do something in the interior offensive line following Jason Kelce's retirement. Powers Johnson, a good fit here. They could go corner, but they need to replace the heartbeat of the line. And check out these grades, man. 0 sacks last year, 0 hits, and 1 hurry. He held it down on the interior to an elite level. Overall PFF grade 84.3, pass blocking grade 90.6, run blocking 85.2. Rarely, because it's harder to pass block, do you see a higher pass blocking grade compared to run blocking grade. But JPJ did both with flying colors, and I know this pick wouldn't be a sexy pick for a lot of Eagles fans out there, but do you want an impact player? And did you enjoy the tenure of Jason Kelce? The answer to that is yes. And Jackson Powers Johnson can give you that type of play. So who do you want the Eagles to take at number 22? And which mocks do you like? Like, which analyst do you go to look at their mock drafts? Drop me some names down below. Maybe we feature those mocks in a future roundup.